Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hot Seat Interview. I'm your host, Maggy Martinez, and today we continue our commitment to informing voters by bringing you another candidate seeking to represent Georgia's 13th Congressional District in the special election on July 28, 2026, to fill David Scott Vacancy until January 2027. Our guest today is former Judge Carlo E. Moore, an attorney, former municipal judge, former president of the National Bar Association, and candidate for the United States Congress District 13. He's bringing a different vision to the Jonesboro, Hampton, Covington, Rockdale, and Henry County communities. So let's dive in.
Present Starbound Studios starring Maggy Martinez and the Hot Seat Interview. Y ahora con ustedes, Maggy Martinez.
Well, welcome, Judge Moore, to the Hot Seat Interview.
Thanks for having me, Maggie. Glad to be here.
This is about to get hot, Judge. This is about to get hot because one of your opponent, Mercy Scott, is the daughter of David Scott, and some voters believe she's relying on her father's legacy. So do you think, in this case, a candidate should run on their father's legacy or on their own qualification like you have?
I believe a candidate should run on their own legacy, their own merits. While we admire the things that Congressman Scott did, he has gone on, and we are not going to forget about his legacy, but it has to be extended. And I believe I'm the best qualified to extend his legacy because of my experience, my qualifications. I mean, I've been a long-time attorney for 24 years. I was a judge for over 6 years, served as the president of the National Bar Association. So I'm very familiar with the issues that affect District 13. I'm very familiar with representing individuals and being an advocate, a strong advocate for people.
Well, how has your legal experience prepared you for the legislative work that you're going to be doing in Washington?
As a lawyer, I have had to apply the law, understand the law, and represent individuals and other clients in court. And so I know the law. As a judge, I have to interpret the law. And so if I can interpret it, if I can advocate for it, understand it, I can write the law. And so it's not rocket science. I can do it in my sleep. And so I'm ready to go to Washington on day one. Whoever wins this special election is only going to be there a few months. And so we don't have time to send a novice. You don't have time to learn the job. You need to know the job. I know it. And so that's why I'm offering myself for service.
Well, I wrote a book, The Secrets of Campaigning, so you think you could run. It's 40 years of experience running campaigns and running for office. Buy it for your daughters to develop leadership. Buy it for a friend that is running for office. Or buy it for yourself so that way you know exactly, right, Judge, of what the candidates goes through and so many steps that they have to go in. It's available on Amazon. It's $25, The Secrets of Campaigning. And it helps the show to keep this conversation going because we have to buy equipment, keep up with technology. But if you feel it in your heart to make a donation to the show, do it through starboundpr.com and make your donations. Although you can use your credit card, you can use anything. If not, let us know. We could go and pick up a check for you from you. Well, families throughout the district continue to struggle with groceries, gas, healthcare, and this is not good, Judge. What are your plans on once you get there on the first 100 days? Because basically that's the time you're going to have available, right?
It is. And so I'm going to do whatever I can to support bringing down the cost of groceries, bringing down the cost of gas, and trying to make sure we have affordable housing in the district. I am so happy that Senator Warnock's bill is now law, where the private equity cannot no longer come in and buy up all the private housing. And so that's a good thing that's going to help our citizens in our district. But in 100 days, I will be there as a sounding board. I will be there as a tenacious advocate for the people. And I'll be there to vote against any nonsense from those Republicans. And I will listen to others. If there's any bill I can introduce and try to get passed within those 100 days, I will. But I'm definitely going to be there to save democracy. I will be there tooth and nail to fight against Trump. He wants to say that Senators Ossoff and Senator Warnock were not duly elected in 2020.
It's incredible.
That's a lie. We're going to stand tooth and nail against it.
Well, Governor Bryan can choose to do something with the Medicaid, which is called the pathway, right, to health care. It has been a big failure, and Medicaid expansion he has not accepted to do Medicaid expansion because they know they have to double the money whatever they receive from the federal government. What is your take about Medicaid expansion in Georgia?
I have always been a fan of Medicaid expansion. I believe that the Affordable Care Act was one of President Obama's signature pieces of legislation. I was so happy to see it pass in 2009. And so a lot of these deep red states have refused to expand Medicaid. Governor Kemp went further than some of his colleagues, but he did not go far enough. And so I am still in favor of full expansion, and I will sound that from my bully pulpit as a congressman.
And certainly, I think we should have to replace the pathway to Medicaid because the way they did it, hardly anybody can qualify because either you have to do volunteer work or you have to do, I think, is hours. I think it's 20 hours of work. I don't know, because if you're a mother with 3 kids, basically, if you go and work for Medicaid, what's going to happen? You're going to have to pay thousands of dollars just to take care of your kids. So, or a person that is disabled or a disability, right? So things like that. Well, what actions will you take in Congress to protect the voting access and strengthen public confidence in the elections? And what is your take about the SAVE Act, which I think is unnecessary, but what is your take about that?
You know, I am a big supporter of the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. It's been reintroduced, I understand. So as soon as I get there, I will sign on as a co-sponsor of the bill and try to push it through, even though it probably stands a better chance of passing under Hakeem Jeffries when he's the Speaker of the House. But I don't wait. I will go ahead and go on record as supporting it and do my best during my term tenure in Congress. I am not in favor of the SAVE Act. I believe that would put too many roadblocks for citizens to vote freely. It's another poll tax unnecessarily, and it's reminiscent of 1950s, and we are not trying to go backwards but forwards.
Well, at the special session that we have a month ago, basically they could not approve counting ballots by hand because that will put a burden on every county. We're talking about around $130,000 just to have that process in place. So imagine $130,000 times 159 counties, how much money we are talking about. Say they changed the law, they still change the law, but it's only if it's 0.5% of the top 2 positions. So thank God that did not go through.
Amen.
Well, Flint River was in the news a couple of days ago with contamination. Certainly, we have to do something about it. The data centers also relied on the waters to cool their system, and that's a big no-no here, and especially here in Hampton. How will you balance economic growth with protecting neighborhoods' quality of life, but most important, Georgia's water resources?
As a longtime civil rights attorney, I have always stood against environmental racism. For too many communities across this country, including here in Georgia, corporations have tried to put the poisonous stuff in the minority communities, and that's historical, and there's data to back that statement up. And so I would stand tooth and nail against that. I do understand that AI is the wave of the future, but I believe these data centers need to be really studied, and we need to know all of the ramifications before we decide which areas to put them in. Maybe they need to be more and more remote areas. And if they are good for the goose, they should be good for the gander. Put it in some of the prestigious neighborhoods as well. And so we need to spread any risk around. But I have an open mind about things. I'll listen to both sides, but I'm always going to protect the little guy. I've been a fighter for the common Joe all of my life.
That's excellent. Well, will you support increasing federal funding for water infrastructure upgrades here in the 13th Congressional District?
Definitely. We want to really protect the Flint River and increase the water supply infrastructure here, yes.
How can Congress support law enforcement while also advancing meaningful criminal justice reform?
I am a big proponent of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. I've represented countless victims and their families that survived them in actions against the police departments in various cities. And so I believe we have a problem with excessive force utilized by various officers. And so we need to get that in check. And so that bill needs to pass. That'd be a step in the right direction. But I also know that our law enforcement have a hard job to do. And so I believe with the proper training diversity training. They can be equipped on how to de-escalate properly and how to utilize force when only necessary. And so it is it's a battle, but it's a fine line we need to get to. But I haven't been a judge, and I depended on law enforcement to protect my life when they served as my bailiffs. I know they can do a good job, and so I've seen both sides, and I believe we can get to a solution.
Well, which congressional committee will you be in right away when you take your oath into office, and how will you work to bring federal fundings to help the infrastructure, especially here in Jonesboro, because the older community needs a lot of help?
I would believe with my background, the speaker is probably likely to seek to appoint me to judiciary as well as oversight. Those are the two top, I think, where my skills would be most useful. I understand that Congressman Scott was on agriculture for a long time. I even chaired it, so they may put me on agriculture, and that would be able to bring back support to the district. But I would be a strong voice for the district, whichever committee I'm assigned to.
Definitely. We need funds. We need funds.
Yes.
Working across the aisle, many voters frustrated with the political division. And we know President Trump, when he got into office, it was a wound. I call it was a wound there, but he just opened the wound. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of divisions among races, communities. And how will you work with colleagues who disagree with you politically, and how are you going to bring results to your constituents working over there by the other side of the aisle, how they say it?
Mac, besides being an attorney and a former judge, I'm a certified mediator. Mediators try to bring the parties together, and it's usually a win-win situation. I will use my mediation skills to work across the aisle to see where we can have common consensus to do what's best for the American people, specifically concerned with the people of Georgia. But what's best, there are some things that both sides should be able to agree to, and I will try to find that common ground when necessary. But when we have something very important, I will not bend or break.
Well, immigration continues to be one of the debate in this country. We already saw three more deaths this week. And ICE is not really using their cameras. I don't know why. They always say that the person were trying to drive over them, which the evidence say is not true. But what specific immigration reform do you support? And we had a case here in Lovejoy with this. It is within the District 13. His name is Herbert Sanchez Dominguez, 34 years of age, with a questionable death as a suicide, and he was detained by ICE, and he died in the cell. So what is your take about immigration and what we need to do in order for ICE to be accountable of what they're doing?
Yeah, I believe we have to have immigration reform, but it needs to be reasonable, compassionate reform. I was in favor of Obama's Dreamers Act, giving people a pathway to citizenship, lawful citizenship here. I am not in favor of what Trump and his cronies are doing, what ICE is doing right now. I believe ICE needs to be defunded until they can do a better job. I mean, they are violating the Constitution as they treat some of these people, and I believe the lawsuits need to be filed, 1983 violations and everything, because they need to be promptly investigated. I will use my oversight abilities as a congressman to go to the various detention centers and call a spade a spade.
Because that's another thing. They don't let you go into the detention centers to see what's going on. No media is allowed in there.
Try to stop me as a congressman. Try to stop me as a congressman if they want to.
Well, you know that Congress reached an impasse over ICE funding when Democrats refused to support additional funding for immigration. It was many months on that. We could not reach a consensus because basically the Republicans have the power within the House and the Senate. So let's see what happened with that one. Well, this is something that I like to talk because international conflict can have different impacts on American life. We see it in the gas pump, right? We see it that, well, once the gasoline goes up, everything goes up because you have to transport the food. You have to use machinery to harvest the food that we eat. What is your take about this, and how can we stop this precedent with the war in Iran?
I believe Congress has to stop going along to get along. The man is deranged. He is just doing whatever he wants to do. And the best way to stand up to a bully is to defeat the bully. You have to let him know you're bigger and more powerful than he is. And so Trump is never going to learn this lesson until both houses of Congress, the House and the Senate, pass an actual bill going against him, starting that unauthorized war. A resolution is a step in the right direction, but it was not a step far enough.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the weight of the law.
The law.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought that that will stop him, but no, because it's just a resolution. It's not a bill. A bill needs to be signed by the President of the United States, and that's not going to happen because I don't know if you agree with me.
I agree with you.
I haven't seen something in the history of this country what he's doing. And for some reason, people put him in place again, but knowing that he was saying things that he will do, and that's exactly what he did. And that's what we're paying the price right now.
We are.
And what concerns me the most is that 13% of the Afro-American men nationwide voted for him. That concerns me a lot.
Very concerning.
Well, what is your position in terms of what's going on right here in the Congressional District 13? We see a lot of crime going up, the use of fentanyl, the gangs, the infrastructure is down. Investors, they're not going to come in if they see all this depleted. So what is your take in terms of bringing change to the 13th Congressional District?
I plan to convene a summit within my first 30 days with each sheriff in the district, as well as each county exec, and find out what are the pressing issues and how we can help resolve them on the federal level. If it's more dollars from the Justice Department to certain things, or other departments to combat crime, or to bring in dollars for infrastructure, I will listen to those local leaders, because politics begins at home, and that will inform me on what I can do to help from Washington to help them.
And I never have seen especially in Clayton County, that the congressmen work hand in hand with the commissioners. And this is so important. Mm-hmm. Teamwork is so important. Well, you have this camera, and tell the people of the 13th Congressional District why they should vote for you.
You should vote for me because we're living in a pivotal time, an unprecedented time in history. We have a deranged man in the White House, and he wakes up every day with a new way to destroy this country. I am a constitutional scholar. I'm a lawyer. I'm a former judge. I have been the president of the National Bar Association, which brought me before many people representing the 67,000 black lawyers and judges in this country and around the world. And so I know how to advocate. I know how to be tenacious. I do not give up easily. I don't stop till I achieve my purpose. And so I believe I was born for a time such as this. I'm ready to go to Washington, and I will hit the ground running from day one to deliver for the people of the 13th Congressional District. Thank you.
Well, Judge Carlos Moore, thank you for joining us today on the Hot Seat interview.
Thanks for having me.
This is interesting. Well, at the Hot Seat interview, we believe voters deserve to hear directly from every candidate so they can make an informed decision at the ballot. Carlos Moore brought to you insightful information of what needs to be done to improve the quality of life of all Georgians. And once you are a congressman of everybody in this nation, so it's important that be informed. Don't forget that the election is July 28th, and he will be covering almost 6 months to be in office, and I think he could bring a lot of changes because of the plethora experience that Carlos Moore brings to the table as an attorney, as a former judge, and so on and so on and so on. So July 28th is the elections from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Don't forget to go out and vote. This is Maggy Martinez, the Hot Seat interview. Until next time.